if I had 5 things to do to try to like make next week better at my BMX track, I would I would get a league going. I'd learn about the league, figure out how to get one scheduled, get it going. 3 weeks, I'd be doing a league, and those would be like my first 3 things out of 5. Get a league, get a league, get a league, and then maybe my fourth thing might be, all right, make some flyers. That's fine. Go ahead and do that, but that just doesn't that just doesn't really work.
BMX Breakthrough is bridging the gap from old school to new school, from tracks to manufacturers, from new riders to their local tracks, and it doesn't stop at racing, but the mission is to connect people with bikes. Join me, Jay Oaks, as I interview key people in the sport and in the industry that are involved in their local circles, in their communities, at their local tracks, and aiming to make a difference on a local level. You'll hear stories, marketing tips, failures, successes, and a way to make a difference in your local BMX community. Let's dive in as we kick off this next episode. Well, it's exciting getting to talk to you, and
I hope it enlightens some people. I don't know. I don't know where we're going. We'll see where we end up. I have been doing it for a long time, so a lot of times I can help people cut to the chase a little bit.
Perfect. Well, yeah, we haven't had the chance to meet in person, but I've told you I've heard your name come up multiple times in lots of different conversations because apparently Paul is a guy that I need to know in the world of BMX. And so when we had a quick phone call the other day, I can't even remember all the different levels of involvement that you not only just over the last 30 years, but over the last just currently. So what is it that you are currently doing within the world of BMX?
Well, right now, we're starting season 32 of BMX racing in the Quad Cities here. Or in this area, we started as Green Valley BMX in 1993, and then we ran at this other facility in Moline, Illinois. We ran there until 1998. And then we moved up into East Moline, a much better location at the Rock Island County Fairgrounds. And we've been there ever since, running outdoor BMX races every year. And then along the way, around 2011, we started running some old school BMX races at Rock Island Indoor BMX, which is located at the QCCA Expo building in Rock Island. And we are the only track in the world that runs on cement, sanctioned BMX races with wooden jumps, and we've got kind of a skate park jump in there. But we've been doing that for, I think, 13 years. And then in the last 3 years, we started renting a building over in Iowa. So we run an Iowa series on indoor cement, and we've been doing that for 3 seasons now. So the Rock Island track, we run it to the left. The first turn it goes to the left, and when we go over to Iowa, we run it to the right. And 2 different buildings, 2 different styles of BMX. Once again, we're the only track that runs indoor cement or races on cement. And then several years back, we were rained out for a week at our outdoor track, so our state qualifier got it got really pretty much eliminated. We moved everything to the parking lot by our outdoor track, and we raced an outdoor parking lot race for our state qualifier. There's about 190 riders there. So that was an experience that nobody's ever had around here. When I was a kid, we raced in Mount Vernon, Iowa. We raced in a parking lot, and we raced inside in that building. But we grew up around here racing a lot of indoor cement BMX in the early 80s. And we are the only ones that carry the torch for that style, which is can be controversial to some. A lot of people across the country, it really is kind of a love it or hate it. But most time, if we can get you to the track, you're going to have a good time, and you're going to find out that the racing is It's pretty spectacular. Turn to turn, bar banging action, and you learn how to, race in a style that is very unique, and we're very comfortable with it. Our local riders are, they don't know how lucky they are, but they get to experience this style. I mean, this is normal BMX to us. We've got our outdoor season, then we go to Rock Island, and then we wait 3 weeks and we go indoor to Mississippi Valley. And in fact, in the last, we've raced every month since last April. We've raced BMX in this area. Sanctioned BMX races have raced every month at 3 different tracks. So we provide a lot of BMX to this area of the Midwest, and it's pretty cool.
Wow, that is a lot of racing, because there are not many places across the country, if any, that can say that they run 12 months of racing, and you have 4 different locations to make that up.
Yeah, three different.
3?
If we get rained out at the outdoor track, what's great is we could set up in the parking lot at the fairgrounds, and we set the track up. We can set the track up in 2 hours. We can tear the whole thing down in 90 minutes. We have dedicated trailers now. We have a pro gate for our indoor track. It's pretty cool. We just bought a trailer for our gate this just last night. We picked it up. So we have a huge flatbed for our wooden jumps. We have a huge enclosed trailer for our fresh park jump and all our bales and hay bales and all our race gear, all our track setup. And then we have a dedicated trailer for our pro gate. So we can move in with 3 trailers, and we can be mobile BMX, which nobody's got down. Nobody's going to get it down better than we are. It's we could be racing. You could be looking at an empty parking lot. 2 hours later, we could be dropping gates and running a BMX race.
So
our
cool.
crew is incredible. It's mobile BMX. I love it. And I wish there was more cement BMX going on, because our kids love it. We would follow that. That would be its own thing. You know what I mean? A lot of people, when they're thinking indoor BMX, they're always thinking dirt. Around here, though, people that know me and our kids, we've got kids that love the indoor track so much. Some of them, that's all they do. We have people that race specifically indoor, and they skip the outdoor altogether. So we have people that race indoor cement with flat turns in clips, clipped in, and that's something that is, completely unique to BMX.
Very.
We see, so we have morphed BMX into so many different. The DNA of BMX has been changed because of what we do, and we plan on continuing to do that. We got a good relationship with the people in these buildings, and that's the biggest hurdle: finding a place that'll allow you to do it, and then that you can financially pull it off. And the indoor Rock Island season is 10 races. The outdoor season or the indoor Mississippi Valley season is 3 weeks and 9 races. So we raced. This is a good one for you, because USA BMX shuts the door on BMX. It closes on the 16th of December. There's a 2-week window there till the 31st where you don't race. So between the 1st and the 15th, we raced 9 times in 14 days. And then we took 2 weeks off, and we came back on January 1st and had our triple point state qualifier for our 10th race. And then we moved out that day. So the Rock Island season is about 31 days long. The Mississippi Valley season is 21 days long. So we get in and get out. But in this area, it's what we do now. It's exactly what everybody's used to doing. And, once again, we do it with great people that pitch in and pull this thing off. Our crew is something else. They're just a fantastic group of volunteers that help put these events together and help us pull them off. I can only do so much, but we've got a wonderful group of volunteers, and we have for the last 3 or 4 years. We've just had this group that's really a hard working group that gets stuff done. We can talk about it and we can execute the plan or the idea within hours. We don't wait. You know, if there's a good idea and we all like it, we're on it. So yeah,
That's cool.
it's pretty cool around here.
Well, so and it may be something that I just completely missed through my generation of racing. I'm not completely sure, but where did the idea for indoor flat cement racing come from?
Well, you know, it goes back to the '70s. You
Okay.
know, if you do your homework, the first four world championships of BMX were on concrete, and they were in Indianapolis, and I was at one of those in 81, I believe it was the first one I went to, and you know, there's 3,000 riders at this race. It was, you know, we left on Christmas Day. It was during the Christmas between Christmas and New Year's Day, and the Indianapolis Jag World Championship, Jocks Jag World Championships are incredible. There's video of them on YouTube, and you know, I was a part of that. And around here, I mean, I turned expert in 1982 on a tile floor in Rock Island, a couple blocks away from where we race now at the Rock Island Armory. So in the Midwest, there was a lot of this style of racing going on. In fact, I would say there was more cement than there was dirt back then. And some of the dirt buildings we raced in, you know, were no heat horse barns at fairgrounds, and really primitive BMX. And I kind of like that. I miss that sometimes. I'm glad we get to see it. Nobody else gets to experience. Everybody else's version of BMX, which is current, is a pretty nice setup. You go to a track, it's probably pretty nice. You know what I mean? It's certainly got way more amenities than we had way back in the day. So I think you know, we get to the purest form of BMX in existence and put races on in that form. So we get to travel back in time when we see it. We've seen it more than anybody else. There's nobody that'll ever see more indoor concrete BMX than us after 13 years of doing it straight. You know, back in the day, those tracks lasted, a lot of times they were just one weekend somewhere where somebody would throw a big race. The ABA would throw a race in Rockford. You know, they were one weekend deals, and not consistent week to week. One of the greatest indoors was the Odium up in Villa Park in Chicago, and they had a steady program. We would race in Chicago every week in the winter. Every weekend we'd drive up there, and that was a hot spot for ABA and NBL riders. It would bring together the groups, and you would see, you know, lots of magazine guys, lots of you know, people, lots of really good racing back in the day. But we were exposed to it. You know, it's totally foreign to, you know, somebody in Texas or something, you know, that's never seen this, or certainly any new age BMXer is like, what are you doing? You know, but when you're running 8 guys down a 120-foot straightaway with no jump to a flat turn, I mean, that's pretty exciting to see how that's going to unfold. So
That sounds
get,
fun.
yeah, we get to do that in the winter. There's lots of great video on YouTube of Rock Island and Mississippi Valley, and yeah, we love to do that. Now it's outdoor season. You know, we raced just because we could, and just because we wanted to put one in March. We raced last weekend at East Moline with 37 motos and 144 riders. A great race. And now we won't go back. We won't go back until April. Now we're going to take a little break, but we are practicing.
Okay.
And you know, last night we had more than 50 riders at practice. So
Wow.
On a Tuesday in March, that's pretty cool.
Yep. That's neat.
So, yeah, the indoor tracks certainly they keep everything going. You know, we don't have a lot of downtime. You know, you can prepare for indoor, race it a little bit, you get a few breaks, and then all of a sudden we're back. But it tunes our riders up, and you know, a lot of our riders that travel do really good when they go out and race around the U.S.
That's cool. Yeah, I remember reading the article, was it last year, that you were in Pole magazine about they were doing an article about the indoor racing that you do, and
Yeah.
it was just so different. I mean, I've seen videos of the flat track racing, back from the 70s, early 80s, and seeing clips, but I just have never been around that personally. And so seeing that somebody was doing it, and that was last year, that was the first that I had heard of it. Heard of it rather, that it was being done in a modern setting.
Sure.
So
Sure.
anyway, just the ability, because I spent my whole life in Northwest Washington. And so being able to, the idea of having racing, even when it's raining out,
Yeah.
at a much lower cost than having to have the space and the equipment to be able to build a track, just sounds
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah. 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 A indoor dirt track, it's a pretty big challenge. You know what I mean? And unless you're at a already existing fairgrounds building that you can just move the dirt around there. And that's done many places, but people, uh, it's not easy putting an indoor BMX track together, and you would just have to check USA BMX. I think there's less than 10 tracks in the country that do it. Two of them we run, and two of them are in Idaho. So then you got 6 left. Of course, Rum River and Steel Wheels; those are pretty dedicated buildings, and fantastic facilities. But it's not easy to find all the things you need. Everybody always says, "Oh, we're gonna do this or do that," but when it comes down to signing your deal with that building owner, it doesn't usually get that far. You know what I mean? You've got to really know. You really got to make some connections. So we've been lucky to do that, and continue to do that. So it's been cool.
That's great. Well, so we'll go back a little ways in your life. I want to know, when did BMX start for you? What was that introduction like?
Um, my first race would have been in the 70s. It would have been a one-shot deal where my dad was he's from Belgium. So we would go down and watch these bicycle races during Memorial Day down in Moline, and it was kind of a Belgian area, and everybody'd line the streets and watch this criterium. So then I had a Huffy monoshock BMX bike, and they would run a kids race before the main race. So I showed up there with my Huffy monoshock, and we had to borrow a helmet off somebody in the crowd because I didn't have a helmet. And that would have been my first actual race on my bike. And I've posted that picture here and there, and it's like taking a knife to a gunfight, because I'm racing a bunch of 10 speeds, and I'm on my single speed BMX bike, and it's probably I don't know, it's probably almost a half a mile loop around this big neighborhood lined with people, and I'm pedaling as fast as I can, but that's a sprint you keep up. So I raced that race, and then I was probably 7 or 8 during that race, and then I certainly building jumps, BMXing in my neighborhood, and I ended up breaking the weld on that bike jumping, and really being into BMX. About a half a block from the house I'm at, I live in the house that I grew up in, and a half a
Wow.
block up this was a Schwinn bicycle store. So I'd go there. I could be there in 10 seconds. And I'd go in there and look at BMX stuff, and probably stop in there every day. And then when I was about 10, I went in there. I saw a flyer for a BMX race, and I looked at the flyer, and I would have did it had I brought it home. I probably could have got into BMX sooner, but I looked at this flyer. It was for a race up probably 40 or 50 miles away, and I looked at the flyer, and I basically, I think the town was Quincy or something like that, and I said, those kids aren't fast in Quincy, and I put the piece of paper down on the counter, and I didn't follow through. So that was a missed opportunity. But shortly after that, I got my hands on a bicycle motocross action magazine, and that changed everything, because that was the first magazine I'd ever seen with BMX and jumping, and Harry Larry was on the cover, and it was really cool. And then we looked into it, and it just so happened in our area they were putting together a meeting because they were going to build the BMX track in Moline. And we went to that meeting, and we raced. We started our first race there. You know, my family took me to the Quad City BMX Raceway, which was in 1981. So there was other little BMX going on in this area, but I didn't know about it. That was how I got there. I probably should have followed that. I probably should have brought that flyer home and not been so cocky standing there. Nah, those guys aren't fast in that town. I'd never been to that town, but I don't know. Didn't know what I was saying, but
Then
yeah.
did you race for quite a while growing up, or was it just an intermittent thing for you?
No, I was on and off. I turned expert when I was 12 and raced till I was about 14. And then I had I don't know. I mean, it was really hard. 14X was super hard, and I wasn't that big of a kid. So you know, I'm at these races, and I got I can't think of the guy's name, but he's 14X. He's a magazine guy, and I'm looking at him. And he's got a mustache and practically a beard, and I'm like, this giant. I wasn't as strong as he was. You know what I mean? And a lot of those guys. So I kind of faded out, but it was a weird transition because my sister started dating this really fast BMXer named Malin Abrams from California. And he ended up moving in with us in Geneseo, Illinois here. He was from California. And so I kind of took a break from BMX, but I would hang out with him, and I'd train with him, and I'd do all this stuff. I'd go to races and I wouldn't race. So there's a weird period where I was like a spectator at these races, watching him race. Maybe I was just racing through him because he was so good that I would see him, beat all the heavyweights in the magazines. And I did that for a while. And I probably didn't start racing back up until I was 17 or something. And then I've pretty much been doing it on and off, all the years since then. I've taken some big breaks, but I'm a guitar player, so sometimes I get in a band and I'll go do 100 gigs with some band, and it takes me in a different direction. So I'm not available on the weekends to race BMX. I'm playing guitar, so I go back and forth. Like right now, I'm not really playing in any bands, and I'm about to focus on some BMX. And I did that this summer too. I didn't play in any bands, and I was racing more than I normally do.
That's cool. Well, and then you've been running the track. You've been a TO for quite a while now. So what does that look like? How did you get into that position? And then,
well, I went when I was 18. I got out of high school and I moved to Hollywood, and I went to guitar school, and that was for a year. And I did race a little bit out in LA or out in California. When I moved back after school, it was just a 1-year school. I was probably there about 14 months. I started racing immediately again, and then I'm like, I don't know why there isn't a track around here. It certainly died out in this area. Probably in '88, BMX was done in this area. So in the early '90s, I started looking into getting a BMX track. In '92, I was going to some meetings and meeting with different cities. And then I ended up in '92. I ended up going to Moline, and we reestablished the track in the location that it was in 1981. So we went back to that location and fired it back up, called it Green Valley BMX. And then it took us a year to get going. The flood of '93 from the Mississippi had flooded that area. I just found some pictures today from that. Our track is underwater, and there were fish in the turns. The turns were full of small fish
oh,
from
wow.
the river. But so '93 was our first official BMX race, and I was an NBL guy. We started with NBL and ran with them up until the end. I think it was 17 years we ran with those guys until kind of died out. Then USA BMX took over, and we've been with them ever since.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Yeah, which I mean is speaks a lot to your dedication or interest, passion for the sport, because I mean being a TO is not an easy job. I mean,
No, I think I talked to you about this the other day. I think the average shelf life of a track operator is 3 years, and then you're usually smoked by then, and you've had enough. Really, that's probably what the typical track operator says after 3 years. Look, I've had enough. You know what I
yeah.
mean? And
Well,
that's on a ton of different levels. Whether it's there's a million factors that go into it, but we deal with a lot of people all the time, and it always changes. So sometimes it's good and sometimes it's not. But for me, I've said this, when it comes to, let's just say you're working with a difficult group of individuals, or maybe there's somebody that's giving you some issues. I always think in my head, well, I was here way before this person got here, and I'm going to be here way longer than they're going to be. I'm going to be here when they're gone. So being a track operator it's a real special calling, if you will, to be able to deal with all the different things.
At this moment, I'm going to interrupt our episode, our current interview, briefly to give a special shout out and thank you to our sponsors that have backed us financially in this project, in our mission, and give them a huge thank you. So at our gold level, we have Luminex Neon and Marketing Breakthrough. At our silver level, we have Sound Cedar Lumber and Bicycle Thieves. And at our bronze level, we have Pro Start Gates and Justin Shepard, Title Examiner. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you for backing us. If you are looking for help with any project that you're working on, if you're looking for some cool things to do, go ahead and check out the links to their websites in our description and go ahead and visit them, show them some love. We are so appreciative for their support. And if you are interested in getting involved in a local track, helping out, or sponsoring a local track, sponsoring the BMX Breakthrough project as a whole, please reach out at j@bmxbreakthrough.com. You can also go to our website and find out some of the needs of tracks and some of the things that we are working on at bmxbreakthrough.com. Once again, thank you so much for your support. Let's dive back into this conversation.
I mean, if it weren't for people, you wouldn't have a role, but the role would be a whole lot easier.
Yeah.
So what are there any things that you would accredit to avoiding that burnout? So obviously you've made it past 3 years by a few.
Yeah. I mean, I tell you what, I did a podcast with Colin Stiles. It was probably around 2015 or 16, and he even mentioned, he's like, I've never heard you so down. You know what I mean? And I was definitely run into the ground. There was a lot of stuff going on, but I wasn't having that much fun, and then I finally took the advice of Mike Caruth and Donnie Robinson, who I had been talking to, and I ran a BMX league, and then I was back. You know what I mean? I needed that to get me going. I just needed to see the kids who are just out there for the pure joy of BMX. You know what I mean? And a lot of those first leagues that we did, those kids were coming in with, pegs and chain guards and kickstands, and it was awesome. You know what I mean? These guys were just they didn't care. You could have given them anything. I could have just said, I could have went and broke bottles out on the track, and they'd be like, yeah, well, let's go ride through it. You know what I mean? That's, so I needed to do that. You know what I mean? I needed to get through all those different things to get going again. And then our program really started to, take shape again. There's a lot of ups and downs. I don't have a graph, but mine would be interesting to see, um, at all the different ups and downs. Sometimes, there are times we're out there with six motos, and we're just maintaining the basic stuff. It just changes all the time, and you just for me, I always my end goal is I always hope that there's a BMX track, whether I'm doing it or not. If I'm 80 years old and I'm not doing it, I could go watch a BMX race in this area, hopefully at that track, and see that. You know what I mean? So we keep it going, um, for a lot of different reasons. You know what I mean? But I see the benefits, through all the kids that we've seen. I've seen all these kids for 30 something years race BMX, and a lot of them make it back to the track, which is pretty cool, with their kids. I've seen generations of people come and go. So I'd like to think that, we've provided a pretty cool, setup for the time you're there, and to where maybe you'll come back, 10 years down the road. You know what I mean? And bring somebody else. We've seen all that stuff happen. So yeah, I want to see it, continue on. I always want there to be a BMX track around here for sure.
That's cool. One thing that you said, you made a mention of six motos, being out there in the six motos. So if there was somebody that is running a track right now with a small moto count, and it's a low season, a low point in their, we'll call it the TO career, and
Yeah.
they're feeling discouraged, what would you say to that?
Well, I happened to be in, a couple weeks ago. We were in, going through Nashville, and I stopped at the Shelby Farms track, and talked to their TO, and he kind of got me pumped up, because he was brand new. He'd been the track operator for, I don't know, 30 days or something. So he was
That's awesome.
enthusiastic, and a lot of fun to talk to. And then there was another guy there that, I guess he was the president. He said he had been the president for about 72 hours. And so those guys are a lot of fun to talk to, because I'm like talking to a bunch of new guys. You know what I mean? So that was kind of cool. And I asked them about the league, if they'd done any of that, and they hadn't. So I forwarded them, information for Mike Caruth to get a hold of them. And they started talking to me about handing out flyers and all that. And I'm like, if I had 5 things to do to try to like make next week better at my BMX track, I would get a league going. I'd learn about the league, figure out how to get one scheduled, get it going. 3 weeks, I'd be doing a league, and those would be like my first 3 things out of 5. Get a league, get a league, get a league, and then maybe my 4th thing might be, all right, make some flyers. That's fine. Go ahead and do that, but that just doesn't really work. You'll get a return off the BMX racing league, So I want. Yeah, I would tell track operators to do that immediately. I was hesitant. Mike Caruth and Donnie, they were trying to get me to do it. I should have did it a year and a half sooner. Okay. And I had the same excuse that everybody has. I'm too busy. And I did that for a while, and then finally, our rider count, everything was just going down the tubes, and I'm like, I'm doing this, you know what I mean? And then we did it, and then of course, those guys they've got the "I told you so," and I like, let me have it. But the thing was, I when we did it, I didn't have time to do it. So I did it anyway. All right. That's what I'm going to tell anybody is, you think you're busy. All right. And you're running your track. Well, you might be just, literally running your track into the ground. But you still want to run the track. You need to do it. Just, I don't care how. I don't care how you get the time. Hire somebody to do it. I don't even care. But the league is the number one thing that we have done, to build our program, and I think I would tell everybody to do that. Now USA BMX has their own version, and then Mike Caruth heads one up. I think it's still in conjunction with Donnie. I haven't talked to Donnie in a while. but and Donnie's are super successful. His are the best ones in the country, and they have been ever since the beginning. So, when you talk to him, he those guys, they just know it works. But I feel like that program is sort of fading out there because the guy at in Nashville, he didn't even know about it. He wasn't aware of it at all. So I don't think the word is out. I still think there's tons of track operators that don't have a clue of what it is, and it's we run ours in 3 weeks. It's a 3-week BMX school, for kids, for one price, jerseys and number plates, and I think it really works. And we're getting ready to schedule. We'll do 2 this year. We haven't done one at the indoor in a couple of years. Our indoor one is great. The stuff we do at the indoor track is incredible. But sometimes, when we're running 9 races in 14 days, sometimes we can't add a league, without, spending the night there. So sometimes we just get run too thin, but our outdoor leagues are really good. And if I did an audit on our riders that raced, out of the 144 riders that raced last Sunday, 30 of them, maybe 35 of them were league kids, from four years ago. I think the average rider in USA BMX sticks around for a couple years. I think the numbers drop them out at 2 years. So that's those are what we're building off of, those riders. And we'll keep doing that. I haven't found anything that's close, and nothing better than BMX League. So whether you do USA BMX or Mike, I like the. I just been friends with Mike forever, so I've known him for a very long time, and I like doing that league. Whether there's points and stuff involved, I don't even care. I just like his program.
That's super cool. I think that the value to the program of league and the time that I've spent talking to Mike and Donnie and just learning about the return on that, and using the terminology of ROI, but really it's you're putting your effort into the track, and it's really easy to get lost in the weeds of like, okay, we're gonna do flyers, we're gonna go to parades, we're gonna go out and we're gonna change the track, and all this stuff takes a lot of time and a lot of energy and a lot of resources, and it doesn't provide the return as often. And so anyone that I've talked to that has done league, they've said, yeah, we finally decided to, bite the bullet, and we put out another day a week, and then these riders come back.
Yeah.
So.
I don't know. I didn't, I should have went sooner. You know what I mean? Those guys forever can say, I told you so. And I would agree. After your first league, one of our leagues, we had 65 kids show up. That's a huge number,
That's a lot.
Sometimes the majority of those riders are like 8 and under. You're herding cats out there. It's a wild situation. But
it's hard enough to get
fun.
8 and under sometimes in the gate when they're seasoned racers.
Oh yeah.
Coordinating that age is just, and I had an experience just the other night of my son, who's 5.5, and he knows what he's doing. And I didn't know we were out at Bellflower in Southern California, and I didn't know how long of a break that they took between the second and third moto. And so my little guy's snacking and getting something, and all of a sudden the break was non-existent because they want to go home because it's Monday night. And so all of a sudden they're up there, they're running Moto 1, and then they're calling his name for Moto 2. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you don't even have your helmet on. And so I went up there, I apologized, I was scrambling, and then he forgot where he put his bike at, and it turned out that his sister had grabbed his bike and taken it to the gate. And
we had that happen Sunday. One of our one of our 4-year-olds. He was in the sandbox, and comes running. His gates, his main event is in the gate. He comes running around the building. He's been in the sandbox. And he doesn't have a helmet or a bike or anything. It was hilarious. You know what I mean? But we held the gate. Yeah, we call that the freeze out. You know what I mean? We call that freezing out the other guys in the gate, uh, showing up that late. But at a local race, we don't usually ever drop the gate without everybody that's supposed to be there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
it's different. I mean, especially at 4 and 5, it's a little bit different. 6 years old, they're especially if they're trying to figure stuff out. It's different if you're 14, 15, and you're just doing it to try and be rude or disrespectful,
yeah,
whatever the case is. Then
yeah,
we'll drop the
yeah.
gate on you.
Yeah, some of our kids they get lost over in the sandbox and they don't. It's funny. It's funny what goes on over there at the sandbox. It's
Yeah,
uh, it's
I
fun.
bet. Well, so you talked about league, you talked about being a TO for the years that you've put in. Um, what what are some of the values and benefits that you see? Because obviously you see BMX being beneficial to kids' lives, people's lives. What more can
Yeah,
you say to that?
I had some of the greatest. I had great experiences with my mom and my dad. My dad, he was a plumber and a pipe fitter. He worked at a lot of nuclear plants, and he'd be gone all week, and then we go BMX racing. You know what I mean? So this is in 1981 and 82. We raced hard. I mean, we went 5 or 6 times one week. We went to 5 or 6 different tracks. And back then, we weren't made of money. I don't know how my dad pulled it off, but we would go out and race the track, come all the way home, and then the next day go out again. We still home based from our house back then, riding in a Chevette. We were doing that, and so yeah, we weren't staying in any hotels. We'd go way out, come back. I don't know. That's just how we did it. The experiences you'll have traveling to those races. A lot of times the race gets lost, but you remember, certain things that happened along the way. And those turn out to be some of your best memories ever. So, I believe BMX is a great, an incredible family sport. For quality time with your kids. The road trips are incredible. That's pretty cool. And there's tons of lessons on winning and losing and dealing with pressure and all that stuff. And having a great mental game is sometimes more important than being the smoothest kid out there or the fastest kid. If your head's screwed on straight, you can beat guys by being smart and intimidation, all that. Not worrying about who you're racing, and I think mental toughness is a huge benefit from BMX. And I like seeing kids. Get into the expert class and then take their beatings and work their way through it and get back up on top again. I hate seeing the kid with potential. He turns expert. He gets beat a few times. He loses his mojo and then he's done. I love seeing the kid just like go out there, get it handed to him, figure out how to run with these guys, and then ultimately put those guys behind him. I love that. So that process, I enjoy seeing that with riders working their way up through the different levels.
That's cool. Yeah. And there's so much to that. The resilience, the lessons in learning how to uh, learning how to lose well and win well.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Learning from that. I agree. I think it's loaded with lessons.
that's cool. So when you have the tracks that you run, and you've obviously got a team, you talked about your team of amazing volunteers, and the efficiency and their hard workers, all this. Um, what are you primarily the one overseeing those teams, or like how are you encouraging them? How are you building those teams?
Well, I'm really lucky. My girlfriend is a huge part of this. Sarah is incredible when it comes to supporting what I do, and now she has come in and she can run the whole thing, but we've got a lot of great parents where their kids are racing, so there's certainly part of the equation. Uh, I don't have to really tell people what to do. Everybody jumps in. They kind of know. Um, Everybody picks up the slack. So I'm not out there track directing everybody all the time. You know what I mean? As far as I'm concerned, there's like 20 of us that are the track director. We don't even. That's not even really. We don't even talk about stuff like that. If the garbage needs to get taken out, we take the garbage out. You know what I mean? We don't. I don't know. Everybody pitches in so good, and my girlfriend's there every step of the way, working on all these things. I guess that I've kind of drug her into, and she has worked her way to the top, where she is the clerk and does all the stuff, and we're always doing something BMX. So yeah, keeping everybody motivated. I think we try to have fun. I don't bark orders at people. We're not doing any of that. We're all kind of focused on good quality BMX, competitive. We like seeing it. We like seeing a good version of BMX. We know we're used to a certain thing. You know what I mean? A certain way, and we like that. We ran this race outside, our first race of the year, Sunday, and it was just like clockwork. You know what I mean? Everything was great from our. We got a great guy that announces, Shane Boisinas. He's been around for probably 30 years now, at the track racing, helping. Everybody's kind of got their thing, and our scores, our trophy ladies really good. Our snack shack ladies are great. So we're thankful. It changes. It doesn't last forever. You know what I mean? People get in and out of BMX, and we're thankful people give us their time, while they're there. And I think everybody, there's a lot of pride. Everybody wants to be really nice. You know,
Yeah.
we hosted the Gold Cup Championship in October, and it was the second biggest Gold Cup in the country, championship. Only one other track, or only one other finals, Gold Cup final beat us by just a handful of motos. I mean, we had a really big race, 867 riders. I think it was our biggest race ever. And we've hosted a few nationals and things like that. So we got a great facility that can allow us to do that, and we're lucky that the crew we have get it ready and make it happen.
That's cool. Well, I think that speaks to having spent time in team development roles and working with people. Is that speaks a lot to your leadership, and also, although in the conversation, I definitely heard you not trying to take credit for that, which is a great leader as well. But being able to recognize that a volunteer who is thriving and is willing to help out, and a volunteer who is, burnt out on the edge of quitting, they can take on the exact same level of work, and they can take on more at the same level of work as they can be burnt out. But when
Yeah.
there's a community and an organization that is thriving, I think that's when people are excited to jump in, and they're encouraged because there's a community of, not only community of kids riding bikes, but also a community of other volunteers that are building up and encouraging, and a leader who's saying thank you. And so I think
Yeah,
that's really cool.
we appreciate those people that help us. We've got one volunteer out there. He's probably the greatest volunteer of all time. His kids haven't raced in 21 years out there. This guy's 76 years old. He comes up there probably every day and does something at the track. Typically,
Wow.
when typically when nobody's there, you know what I mean. He doesn't even, it's kind of his sanctuary. He does it for whatever reason. We've had different volunteers like that over the years that just go out there and they give us their time. We're really lucky that they do that. I think they saw it. I think when his kids raced, they were, some of the fastest kids around, I think. Obviously he likes it. He's been a volunteer for over 20 years. Probably logged more hours there than anybody else. But the role that a lot of times I would just call, my title would be worker, you know, along with everybody else that's working. You know what I mean? We're just working to have a good BMX race. I don't. A lot of times, I get a lot of the great job and all that. Like I did the whole thing, and not the case. You know what I mean? There's tons of people. If you just left, if I was the only guy out there, a couple things would be done and probably be nice, but it would be you can't do it all.
It would fall apart eventually.
Yeah, you got to have people. And during those low points, I think it was a lull. Our volunteers weren't there. You know what I mean? Or the morale wasn't great. A low point when you go out to the track and there's rain ruts and but somebody's got to drop the gate. I can't go do all those jobs. So somebody's got to announce the race or whatever. You know what I mean? And I adopted back then. I would adopt the mindset of, well, we're going to race on the rain ruts. You know what I mean? That's BMX. Last year, our track got redone. We have Eric Brest come out from Colorado, and he redoes our track when we ask him to. When we set it up with him, and we maintained that track up until last Sunday's race. We never got beat up by rain one time since last June. We had a consistent, awesome surface the entire time. We have a lot of asphalt on our track. If you look at aerial photos of our facility, our whole first straightaway is asphalt. It's a freeway. We have more asphalt on our track than probably any track in the entire country. And we only have to cover up 3 sections of our track with 120 foot tarps. So we don't, in a bad storm, we don't lose the whole track. You know what I mean? We don't have to worry about the asphalt. The first straightaway is going to come out just fine. It's asphalt. So these are things you learn as the years go by. The guy with the all dirt track is it's fun to race those tracks, but when the monsoon rains hit, you're out a dozen hours trying to get that track back together. You know what I mean? So we've tried to, as the years go on, we try to step up our game against Mother Nature so we can be on the track faster and not sitting out there with rakes and shovels all the time.
It makes sense. Yeah. Try to weatherproof yourselves a little bit better.
Bulletproof our setup, and it's been working. And we're able to race in March. We could have been racing in February, to be honest with you. The track was fine. It stayed tarped all winter. We pulled those tarps off and it was dry and hard and it was great. So that we're enjoying the benefits of that by being able to go quick. And get up and running.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. Well, Paul, I appreciate the conversation. I appreciate your time.
Yeah.
I think that there are a lot of things that I've taken from this conversation, and I know that the people, the feedback and the commentary that I've been getting as a result of the other episodes is I know that there are some people that are going to benefit from being able to listen to the insight that you have and the longevity of being able to run a track and being able to see things through and talking to the value of league and things like that.
Yeah, I hope so. If anybody's got any questions, they can get a hold of me. I've, in all these years, it would be great if I had a list of all of my bad ideas. Um, and that would be a lengthy list, you know what I mean? And maybe I can save somebody, or maybe I can make somebody think twice about one of their ideas if I could say, no, that was a really bad idea that I have already done. Save your money and do something else. A lot of times, I'll just add this one more thing. A lot of times it's when the local crew, they get a tractor, or they get somebody out there that isn't skilled in building BMX tracks. That can be a real nightmare. And we hire Eric Bress to come and do our track, and in 1 hour, he's just a magician when it comes to working with dirt. You can see your whole track change, and normal people can't do that. He is a seasoned, skilled veteran in any skid steer, and it's a waste of time and money to like do it yourself when you can book time with these guys and have your track done. That's a big thing. I see a lot of tracks, talking about a rebuild and all that, or they want to redo these things, and they're going to do it themselves. And a lot of times I think, well, you should probably just make some phone calls and you'll be happier. Most of the time when those projects get done, they've made adjustments, they've made changes, but they're not really like super happy about what they have.
Yeah.
I know that is a huge thing on our end. I don't hesitate. You know what I mean? It's like, no, I'm not. Yeah, I'm gonna get this guy the best skid steer I can get, but it's not for me to run. I'm gonna hire him, and 15 minutes away from the airport. As soon as he gets to the track, in 20 minutes, he's done more. He could redo our track with we don't have much dirt left, but in a day, 8 hours, he'd be done at our track now. So that's one of the things. A lot of track operators, they try to take that job on themselves, and that's a he makes it. It's like an art form, how he sculpts that dirt. So yeah, that's one of the things I would suggest track operators think twice about. But yeah, anything, you could ask me anything, and I'll tell you the truth, whether it's good or bad.
Well, you've got a few years of experiences, so yeah, there's got to be some good ideas that worked, and some good ideas that didn't, and some maybe not so good ideas that really didn't.
Maybe I forgot most of the bad ones, but that's we're still.
Yeah, no, it's really cool, and to hear that you're still running tracks, and to hear that you're still excited about BMX is absolutely incredible. So, I mean, I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to. I know I got you after you already spent a long day doing some BMX stuff, so
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah. Well, thanks a lot, Jay. Yeah, I appreciate it, and yeah, let me know if there's anything else. Let me know.
Sounds good. Well, yeah, we'll cross paths in the near future, and I'm hoping to at least get up to race at one of your indoor tracks this winter at some point. And yeah, it was great talking to you, and have an incredible evening.
Yeah, you too. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon.
Cool. Thanks. Take care, Paul.
You too. Bye bye.
Bye.